In 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, there's one spell that stands head and shoulders above most of the others, and that is Wish. Hey fellow Game Masters, I'm Richard Quiner. Welcome back to the Daily D20, your daily dose of all things tabletop role-playing games, helping you build your world and master your game. And today is Spell Slinging Saturday. Last time we finished all the spell slinging classes, so today we're talking about actual spells. And I wanted to skip the little ones and go straight to the big guns of spells with Wish. As we dive into the rules of this spell, I want you to let me know in the comments below what you would use this for if you suddenly had this in your campaign. Even if you're just a level 1 person, what would you use the Wish spell for? Now, let's get into it. The Wish is a 9th level conjuration spell that's only available to wizards and sorcerers. So, 9th level is the highest level spell in the game of Dungeons & Dragons. You can't get any higher than that. And that has to be at level 17. So, if you're a wizard, you won't get this spell until level 17. If you're a sorcerer, same thing. So, keep that in mind. This is not an early game spell, this is an end game spell. The spell takes 1 action to cast, so if you're in a combat situation, you have to keep that in mind. And it is an instant spell, so the effects take place immediately. And the cool thing about this spell is when it comes to the components required, if you remember I mentioned there are verbal, somatic, and material. Verbal being a word, somatic being a hand gesture, and material being a physical object. The Wish spell only requires a verbal component, so all you have to do is be able to say the word, and the spell is cast. So you've reached level 17, you gained the Wish spell, you said the word, what happens? You have a couple options as to what happens. Option 1 is the simplest, most straightforward, is you can take the Wish spell and use it to duplicate any other spell of level 8 or lower. So you can't use Wish to cast another level 9 spell, and you can't use Wish to cast the Wish spell again, but you can go to any of the lower level spells, and they're all very powerful, so right away you basically got a free level 8 spell slot, or even more. On top of that, the spell is not one you have to know, so you can pick any spell out of the book and cast it. And on top of that, you don't need any of the expensive material components to cast the spell. So it's really just a real easy way to cast the 8th level spell. The second option is it has a small list in the book of certain effects that you can actually create with the spell. One is you can create an object that is worth 25,000 gold in an area nearby that you can see. Another is you can fully heal and remove any ill effects from 20 creatures at once. You can also grant yourself or 10 other creatures resistance to any type of spell damage that you choose. Also in line with that, you can also cast on 10 creatures immunity to a spell or some sort of magic effect for 8 hours. And my personal favorite that I think is kind of cool, but you might not find it so useful, is you can redo any action that happened in the previous round of combat. So if the big bad guy rolled a natural 20 and critically hit someone and killed them, you can make them re-roll it. If your ally had to make a saving throw and failed miserably, they can re-roll that. So anything that happened in the previous round of combat, you can make it re-roll and redo it. In addition to that, a neat thing I like about this is after the die is re-rolled, you can then decide if you want to use the result you got the second time around or the first result, depending on which number is better and which will suit your needs. And option 3 for the Wish spell is come up with an effect with your GM and see what happens. It does state in the book that this kind of willy-nilly, what do you want kind of magic will have some risks to it, or a chance of failure, or it could succeed but not in a way you were expecting. So be careful when you're using this specific option of this spell because you never really know what will happen. So then after you've cast this spell, there are some risks involved. If you didn't cast the spell, in order to duplicate another spell, there are some damages you might take or some risks. The first of that being, if you try to cast another spell of any other level before your next long rest, you're going to take damage, and that damage is going to be 1d10 of necrotic damage per level of the spell that you cast. So if you cast Wish on something, and then you end up casting a 7th level spell after that, you're going to be taking 7d10 worth of necrotic damage from casting that spell. You'll also find that your strength ability score is actually lowered to 3. That's your ability score, not your modifier. Your strength modifier will be in the negative at this point, but your actual ability score, the one that's usually above 10, will be dropped to a 3 for a certain amount of days, and you will have to rest and recover in order to recover your strength. And last, probably the scariest thing about the Wish spell, and this is why a lot of people don't use it, is there will be a 33% chance that you'll never be able to cast that spell again. So, think wisely before you go casting Wish. If you like what you see on the channel, remember to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified when I upload new videos. You can also click over here to see more videos in this playlist, or over here to see what YouTube suggests you watch from my channel.